I want to come back to the euthanasia issue. Well, 3 years ago, actually, I met Peter Short, who was, and we talked here on air. He was terminally ill, esophageal cancer. January 2014, he was given 5 months to live. He was one of the brightest, most optimistic, most determined people you deal with, particularly facing those circumstances in his life. And he was passionate in his arguments for dying with dignity laws. Opened up his life to having a camera crew following him around. There's a documentary, Fade to Black, be released on August 1. Well, he lived till December of that year, 2014, before he died in palliative care. The laws haven't changed, but there's a big step today. There's a big step. The government is having a lock-up of media to show them the guidelines that they want around euthanasia laws, and I've described what they are. You have to be a resident of Victoria, you have to be over 18, mostly self-administered if possible. 66 recommendations. It'll go to a Cabinet, then Parliament the next couple of months. My advice is it'll probably get through, though it's a conscience vote, it's very hard to know. And my advice is further that it will not be blocked by the federal government. In the studio is Peter Short's wife, Elizabeth, who's continuing her advocacy work. And as I said, the documentary will be released on August the 1st. I haven't seen it yet. I watched it over the weekend. Elizabeth Short, good morning.
Good morning, Neil. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm very well. Thank you.
Are we getting close to a victory here?
Look, it would be lovely to think so. I think what we need to bear in mind, most importantly, is that we have a fabulous opportunity here with legislation going before the Victorian government. Statistics show that over 80% of people want voluntary assisted dying laws. And those 80% need to put their hands up and start making a noise. So they need to lobby their local MP, visit their MP, because we need that push, that groundswell push. Those people are not, it's not something that people talk about every day. It's not a comfortable subject, our own death and dying. And it's not something people are confronted with every day. But if the people of Victoria want this to go through, they need to start now and need to make their voices heard.
There will be division. It's like the gay marriage debate. There'll be decent people on both sides with
Correct.
Strong views on both sides, and I hope it can be conducted in a more sensible way than the gay marriage debate has been conducted at times. Do you feel at a time like this, when we are taking a big step today, by the end of the day we'll know a lot more, and then next week at Cabinet, do you feel pride in Peter's role in this?
Oh God, yes.
Yes.
Huge pride.
Yeah?
Pride. Yeah. As you said, Peter, we made a documentary for the last months of Peter's life in conjunction with Greens leader Richard Di Natale, who at that stage had draft legislation for a federal assisted dying bill. So that was Peter's focus at the time, was not so much a state push, but a federal push. But people that were involved at that stage say that without Peter's contribution, this debate wouldn't have reached the stage that it has. And that documentary is, as you said, being released in Melbourne on the 1st of August and is going nationally. It'll be shown in each state. And it's confronting and it's controversial, but the aim of it really is to start people talking and to start people thinking about where they actually stand with this and what they want to see happen.
So what you're really talking about here is to get people involved. This is a decision which will be before the politicians.
Correct.
You want people involved in the decision-making process.
Absolutely.
By
Absolutely.
doing what?
By lobbying their MPs. Yeah, by writing, by visiting, by making their voices heard. Because that 80% of people, when Peter was first diagnosed, he started a change.org petition around this, and I forget how many signatures he got. It was well over 100,000, but you think if 80% of Australia wants this to change, where are they all? Where are the 80%? They're too quiet. They need to, they need to raise their voices. And pollies are going to listen. Pollies will listen.
Why do you think they are quiet? Is it just too confronting?
Too confronting. I really believe it's too confronting. And you don't actually, it's not something that you think about that much unless it slaps you in the face. So unless you have, you travel the road and you have a loved one or a close friend or something that's confronted by a terminal illness, and which my husband was, and he did have access to a drug where he could end his own life if he so chose, which in the end he didn't. But that's the whole point of this whole debate, as far as I'm concerned, is choice at end of life. And most people who have the means to have a secure death, not throwing down a bunch of Valium and a bottle of scotch, that's not secure, but have a secure death, they choose not to take it. But because they have the choice, as Peter had, they can live their life fully, comfortably, securely, and know that at the end of the day, if it's all too much, they have a way out.
They're empowered.
They're empowered, absolutely empowered. Best palliative care you can ever offer.
On what we know about this, and as I said, it hasn't all been released yet, but it has to be self-administered in most cases, unless it's impossible, in which case you find a doctor to do it, which you probably can, because there's a few doctors are willing to. You have to be over the age of 18, have to be resident, and have to be advice or medical advice is that you're likely to die in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
But over 12 months, you're ineligible. What's your view of that?
Look, I think they say these laws, if and when, Neil, they come into being, will be the most rigid in the world. You'll have to be nearly dead to qualify. There's no doubt about that. But I think that like anything, you have to crawl before you can walk, and you must start somewhere. And so to bring in these laws, which are very rigid, and see them in place and see that the naysayers with the slippery slope arguments, it's just not going to happen. It will not happen. But let's introduce these laws. They're strict, they're rigid, and we can see that it is a safe and secure piece of legislation.
Every indication is it'll get through the lower house, the Assembly, and the upper house will decide it, the Legislative Council, 40 MPs there. What's the message to them?
Just do it. Just bloody well get off your bums and do it. It's what people want. It will happen. It will happen. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
If it's done, I agree with you, I hope it is. Once it's done, do you then have a weight off your shoulders a bit? Time to move on?
Yes, I do. I do have a weight off my shoulders then.
You have
It will never be gone, because it was so much a part of Peter's life and my life, and has been. Peter died 2.5 years ago. There's not a day that goes by that this is not involved in my life. And it would just be the best thing ever to see this. And it just makes, people have dedicated their life to this. Rodney Syme being one of those people who's over 80 years old now, more than half his life has been dedicated to try and change these laws. And it would just be such a blessing to see it come into fruition.
I agree with you. I hope so. Thank you very much for coming in.
Can I just plug my documentary?
Of course,
yes. Yeah. Anybody that's interested can get tickets at www.fadetoblackmovie.com. Distributors Demand Film. And if anyone is interested in actually hosting their own screening, this is going to be screened in all the capital cities, and we have some rural areas that are interested. If anyone's interested in just screening it, they can find details of that on the website as well.
Well, we'll put a link to that website on our website, 3rw.com.au. All the best. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Neil.
Elizabeth Short.